This is She Creates Business, a podcast for wedding pros. Your host, Kinsey Roberts, interviews incredible women in the wedding industry who are making their mark and creating success on their terms. Join the conversation.
Hello there. Welcome to episode 187 of She Creates Business, a podcast for wedding pros. This is your host, Kinsey Roberts. How you doing today? Thanks for joining me. This is an episode that is going to be maybe surprising to you, maybe not, or maybe you'll be just as excited as I am. My guest today is Ashley M. Fox, and she is not a wedding professional. She is actually a former Wall Street analyst. And today we're talking about investing and how with probably less money than you think, you can start investing. I tell Ashley this at the beginning of the episode, and I think you can all agree that being in the wedding industry is really interesting because most of us are self-employed, right? Most of us run our own businesses. And even if you don't, if you work for someone else, it's very likely that you're probably not on a full-time salary. Maybe some of you are, but you may or may not be. You probably don't have health insurance. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. You probably don't have 401ks. You probably don't have, IRAs or anything like that. And you guys, I'm just like throwing out acronyms. I don't know what any of that means. But that's why I brought Ashley on. I thought to myself, I want to start having these bigger conversations. The older I get, the longer that I'm in the industry, the longer that I'm an entrepreneur, I want to start having these bigger conversations that are really impactful to our future. And that's why I brought Ashley on to share with us step by step how we can start investing, why it might be a good thing for you to consider, and where to start. I know I just said that, but I wanted to say it again because I don't want you to be nervous about this episode. She breaks it down so that it's so easy to understand. I know you'll be excited about it. Before I get to the episode, I want to invite you guys to join me February 22nd through the 26th at the Wedding Summit Series. I am so excited about being part of this summit. I actually sent out an email as I record this, and the title was, "Are you sick of educational summits? Let me change your mind." And I really think I can, you guys. I hope you'll read that email from me today if you're on my email list. It basically says this: listen, it's really hard to weed through 40 different speakers when it comes to these summits, right? It feels so hard. And so what I did was actually curate some, I think 5 or 6 of the talks that I am really excited about. There's a ton of other ones. They're not the only ones. I know that you'll find other ones that you love, but I pulled those out just to start to get you thinking strategically about the presentation offerings in the summit. And I would love for you to join us. If you want to watch next week, February 22nd through the 26th for free, you can do that in real time. It is completely free. You can register now. You can either find me on Instagram. I'm at She Creates Business, and the link in my bio is a registration page. It is an affiliate link. So if you do decide to purchase the all access pass, which I will tell you about right now, I have to keep it real. I'll be compensated in a small way, and I appreciate you supporting the podcast in that way. If you decide to purchase the All Access Pass, that means you can watch all of the presentations at your leisure. You don't have to see everything in real time next week, and you get a ton of bonuses. It's kind of insane. Let me just share some that I'm super excited about. You guys, you get instant access to these. It's crazy. To the WED Content Creation Bundle. That's my content bundle from my website. It's $67. So by paying $47, not only do you get access to all of the presentations, but you get my WED Content Bundle. You get proposal bundle templates for Canva from Renee Dallo. That's a $49 value. You get a budgeting workbook for couples. That's a $199 value. You can share that with your couples. You get client booking and onboarding bundles from my friend Megan Gillikin. That's a $67 value. And then here's what I'm really excited about. You get the Know Your Numbers for Wedding Professionals spreadsheet from my friends Lindsay Longacre and Heather Hosch from LVL Academy. That's a $99 value. Those aren't even all the things. I just kind of picked those out. So pay $47. watch the presentations when and how you want to, and then you get a bunch of bonuses, which all of the bonuses are listed on the registration page as soon as you get there. I would encourage you to do it. And to sweeten the deal just a little bit for those of you still listening who haven't fast forwarded, so good on you. If you do decide to purchase through my affiliate link, which is in the show notes of this episode, it's also in my bio on Instagram. I also sent out an email this morning. If you decide to purchase an all access pass, and I'll get notified when you do, but I won't have your name. So here's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to forward me your receipt that says, whoop, whoop, Sally has the all access pass, and give me the URL to your website. And I will record a video of me auditing your website from a marketer's perspective, and also from the perspective of the hundreds of clients I hear from every single year who book my wedding venue before they book all of their other vendors. And they tell me all of their problems with other vendors, finding other vendors, booking other vendors, finding the information on their website, understanding what they want, understanding what they need. Those are the two lenses with which I will look at your website for free. I'll send you a video. You can do with that information what you will. It's just a little bonus. It's just a little pot sweetener. If you would like to join me in the Wedding Summit series, buy the All Access Pass. It's going to be so awesome. I can't wait. I'm also hosting a panel, moderating a panel about venues and their preferred, their required, their please pick from this lists, the myths, the truths, and I'm pretty excited about it. So hope to see you there. Off of that now, let's talk about Ashley. Oh gosh, you guys, I was so excited about this. Let me tell you about her. Ashley Fox is a former Wall Street analyst. She's a Howard University grad, and she is now an expert in her field as a financial education specialist. After helping manage money for both millionaires and billionaires during her career on Wall Street, Ashley felt that it was her God-given purpose to financially empower those Wall Street would never talk to. This passion led her to quit her job and start her own company called Empify. Empify merges the words empower and modify. It's a financial ed tech startup created to show both adults and children how to build wealth. I'm interested in that. Empify focuses on the creation of life-altering programs and informative digital content curated to teach all aspects of financial education in the classroom, online, and on their WealthBuilders Community app. Since 2014, Empify has reached thousands of individuals, and its programs have been implemented in over 50 different schools and organizations across the country. Since leaving her Wall Street career, Ashley has used her message to educate the world as a financial contributor for Forbes and as a profound international speaker. Ashley is now a highly sought-after financial expert who has been featured on international tours, college campuses, and keynote speaking platforms. Her work and story have been featured on Jim Cramer's The Street, get ready for this, Yahoo Finance, Rolling Out Magazine, Philly.com, Fox News, ABC, Huffington Post, Glamour Magazine, and of course, Forbes. She is the real deal. I know you're going to enjoy this conversation, and I think it's going to get your wheels turning about how you can start to build wealth inside and outside of the wedding industry so that once you stop doing weddings, your cash flow doesn't stop. We don't want that, right? Here we go. Let's talk to Ashley M. Fox from Empify, all about the hows, whats, wheres, whens, and whys of investing. Ashley Fox, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
It is my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for being here. I was telling Ashley offline, you guys, that we do not talk about investing in the stock market or building a portfolio of wealth in the wedding industry, probably at all, but certainly not enough. And so when I had the opportunity to bring her onto the show, I jumped on that like quickly, probably faster than I've jumped on many guests as of late. But Ashley, I appreciate you being here. You know that. There at the top of the show, I read your professional bio, as I always do, but I would love for you, in your own words, to please share with us who you are and what you're doing right now.
So my name is Ashley Fox. I'm originally from Philadelphia, graduate of Howard University. I am the CEO and founder of Empify, which is the word empower and modify merged together. We are an ed tech startup that helps both adults and children learn how to build wealth from start to finish. I didn't always start out this way, though. I always actually never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I always wanted to work on Wall Street. I wanted to be a profound African-American female in corporate America. Graduated Howard, landed my dream career in asset management. So my job was to work with individuals who made $25 million or more. So I kept rich people rich. I got to a point where I felt like I was learning a lot, seeing what they were doing with their money, where they were investing, traveling, everything they were doing with their money from the ins and outs to it. And I felt like for something we use every single day of our life, you shouldn't get access to all these tools and resources just because you have over $25 million. And by that time, I'm making six figures and people thought I had a lot of money. And I just realized there was a disconnect in how we thought about money. And I wanted to be able to take those tools and resources and bring it to people Wall Street would not talk to. So I ended up leaving my Wall Street career. This was literally July of 2013. Started my business, became a financial advisor targeting low to moderate income individuals. Then I got to a point where I felt like I wanted to create educational programs. I wanted to teach children, build programs, put them into the school system. And so if we fast forward today, Empify focuses on adults and children. We have programs within the school system, within the prison system, middle school, high school, college students. And we also now just recently launched our WealthBuilders Community app, which is like the Netflix of finance in the palm of your hand, where you get access to tons of financial education, classes, courses, discussions, and also a network of people all across the world who are looking to build wealth just like you.
You have been busy since 2013.
Yes, absolutely.
That's a lot. That's a lot. So when you were, this is interesting to me because for me, as somebody who lives on a ranch in Colorado, Wall Street seems almost just like a concept. It's so beyond me. And I know I'm not alone in thinking that. And obviously you knew there's a lot of us out here who really, it just seems like this really hard to obtain thing. We know it exists. It's a big deal, especially every time a presidential election comes around. But then after, in our day-to-day lives, it's not part of our life. It's certainly not part of, my wealth building plan, but I want it to be. So how did you know that you could take these concepts that you were managing and teaching on Wall Street to keep rich people rich, as you say, and bring those to I'm just going to call us everyday human beings. I know we're so much more than that, you guys, but I'm just going to call them that to differentiate.
So I didn't know. I think it was an internal feeling. To be honest, I always wanted to be a teacher. I actually was about to major in psychology. I wanted to be a teacher because I just love teaching. And I wanted to understand the thought process and the mind of people. But in order for me, and this is an honest to God truth, in order for me to make the money I was making on Wall Street, I would have had to at least be in school to get my master's or my doctorate in psychology. And so in the beginning, I was very money driven. I wanted the money, I wanted the look, I wanted the prestige. And that's the only reason why I majored in finance. I wanted to make a lot of money. So let's major in the subject of money. Let's go get one of the highest paying jobs out of school. But I think being there, my first 8 months there, I did everything I could to get on Wall Street, but I wasn't doing everything I could to stay. So I just didn't have that same fire. And I was confused because I knew what I was capable of, but it was like, why don't I want to be great here? Why don't I have more joy looking up our clients, not just their bank accounts, but who they were, their history, how they got to that point. And I realized that in order for me to be like that client that had at least $25 million, staying on Wall Street in that career was not going to get me there. And so I started to read a lot of books. And I just got to a point where people always say, just do what you love. And I didn't know what that was, but I knew what I didn't want. And I knew that I always wanted to teach, but there was, in all honesty, like, our audience of where I was working is like 1% of the population. So I had 99% of the world not see what I saw and get exposed to what I got exposed to. And it was like, well, who's talking to the 99% in a way that they can understand, but coming from a space where they just love them. And so when I left my career, there was no game plan. I had $30,000 of which I lost months later because I got kicked out of my apartment. And when you run a business, you don't make money every 2 weeks like a job. But I just left because it just felt right. I was chasing the feeling and not the dollar sign. And I think life evolved into, Empify and who I am today. But I didn't leave knowing how, I left knowing why. And the why is what kept me going. So I really didn't know. It was a feeling, and I chased that feeling, and I read the signs, and I just kept going because I knew who else but Ashley Fox could give this to the world with the burning desire to do it.
That's right. I appreciate you saying that. I like the way you said that. I knew the why, but I didn't know the how. That's really powerful. So, I mean, here we are. Like we said, you've been super busy since 2013. You've been seen in Forbes, Black Enterprise, Glamour, the Huffington Post, a bunch of other ones. Come on. Let's dig into this. So how to build a profitable portfolio of stocks, even if you've never invested. And the reason I think this is so important for the wedding industry specifically, as I shared a little bit about this with you, Ashley, is that a lot of us, especially people who listen to this show, because it is for women entrepreneurs in the wedding industry, most of us own our own businesses. We are self-employed. So unless they are seeking out other forms of wealth building that are more like cash producing assets and things like that, once we stop providing our services, it's over. That we're done, so we have to be great at saving. This is something that I think people could be interested in. Like there are no 401ks. We're not hanging out like company matched 401ks or anything like that. So talk to me about how much money I need to have in order to invest in the stock market. This is like everybody's question. This and like how long does it take to make money? But we'll get into that. Tell me, how much do I need, honestly?
I guess $1.
Stop it right now. Okay, I'm going to need you to expand on
You
that.
don't. I think the biggest myth is that you need a lot of money to make money, and you don't. What I always say to people is like, if you were to find $5 on the ground, would you pick it up?
I would.
Why?
Because it's $5.
But it's only $5. It's not a lot of money, so why does it make a difference? Why would you even pick it up? It's only $5.
But it's $5 you didn't have.
Right. So whether you can make $5 in the stock market and not have to, that you did not have or didn't have to put work in to do, it's still money. So if you value $5 that much to pick it up, which is an honest answer, I would do the same. Why is $5 so little to start with? So you have to treat every dollar as if it's a million. So one of the things that I personally do is I add a zero to everything that I do because psychologically it helps me. So if you go buy Starbucks every single day and it's $5, add a zero to that. Should you really be spending $50 a day? Or if you started investing with $50, add a zero to that, make it $500. It'll make you feel better because what you're describing is the feeling of it's not enough or how much do I need to start with? But there are accounts. So for example, Fidelity has a brokerage account, Stockpile, which a brokerage account is the account that you use to purchase stocks. It connects the buyer of an investment to the seller of an investment, just like a real estate broker. But you don't need a lot of money to start with because you can buy fractional shares. And so the way I describe a stock is like a box of pizza. So the stock is the box of pizza. That's the company. So let's just call it Ashley's Great Pizza is the company, right? That's the stock. The slices of the pizza are called shares. So you can own stock in a company, but you can own 2 shares, right? And each share has a price. Now, when I say with Fidelity and companies like Stockpile, you get a fractional share. Let's just say each slice of pizza of my pie costs $50, right? But you may say, I don't have $50 to start, but I really want to own stock in this pizza company that Ashley built, and I want a slice of pizza, right? You can say, I only have 25. And so what will happen is it'll cut the slice in half. So you then own half of a share or half of a slice. Even if you only have $10, right? It'll give you a percentage of that slice. And so nowadays you don't have to have a lot of money. By the way, to own stock in a lot of publicly traded businesses, it's under $300, under $200. Like there's tons of companies, that are less than $200 that you use every single day. We just don't know that it's cheaper to own stock in a company than it is to buy products from the company or services from that particular company. But you can buy a fractional share. So for example, if you have $5 and you want to own stock in a company that's $50, you can get a percentage of that share. And what happens is, depending on how the stock price moves. So let's go back to the original example. You only had $25 and you own a half of a slice, right? Let's just say the value of that stock doubles in value. So it was once $50 a share and now it's $100 a share. Your $25 doubles too. So even though you own a fraction of a share or percent of a share, the movement of that price as if you owned a full share will grow at the same rate of your fractional share, if that makes sense. So the $50 will double in value if the stock price doubles and it goes to 100, but your $25 will grow to $50. So it doesn't matter if you own a half of a share, a tenth of a share, a third of a share, or 2 shares or 100 shares. What matters is that you now put money, no matter how much it is, into an asset that gives you the ability to increase your net worth. It gives you the ability to grow your net worth. It gives you the ability to make money while you're sleeping. And I think that's what's most important.
Okay, that makes absolute sense. I like that easy example. So regardless of how many pieces of pizza or how many shares of a piece of one piece of pizza you own, when that stock makes moves, so whether it doubles in shares or in price, quadruples, even though you only have a half of a slice, it's going to double, it's going to quadruple, just like anybody who owns 1 or 2 slices.
Correct. Anybody that owns a full share, period. Correct.
Anybody that owns a full share, period. That makes a lot of sense. And so something that you said I want to go back to and just for just a minute is that companies that we all know the name of, companies we probably use every day, are companies that you can invest in for, $200 or $300, $500. And you said something that was interesting, and I want you to explain what you mean by this. So it's actually cheaper to invest in their stock and have that cash producing asset than it is to just use their products every day as a consumer. Can you explain that mindset?
Yeah, so the biggest thing that I tell people is whether you invest or not, somebody's getting rich off of you. I don't care who you are, what nationality, what gender, just by you listening to the podcast, depending on how you're listening to the podcast, some company was built and they are making money because you're a listener, whether you paid for the service or not, right? From the food you eat, to the clothes you wear, to the technology you use, to the phone that you use, to the stores you shop at, someone built that company. And it's a high probability that if it's a large, reputable business, it's a publicly traded company, meaning that it's traded on the stock exchange and you, as the public, can own stock in that company. And what people don't realize is things that we naturally do when we give our time and our money to it, we're giving it to a business, a multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar business. And most people don't know that these companies, it doesn't cost you thousands of dollars to own them. You can buy stock in the company. So as that company grows, as they make more money, as they become more valuable, you are riding literally the wave with them and you're making money. So for example, it's a lot cheaper to own stock in Apple than it does to buy the iPhone, to buy the last 5 iPhones, like to buy a computer. Like Apple stock price is under $200, but I'm pretty sure we're excited to go stand in line or to get that new iPhone. And no, nothing wrong with Samsung, but in all honesty, Apple is a $2 trillion business. Like they're worth over $2 trillion. So when you really, really think about it, we made Apple I personally, I have an iPhone. I made Apple that valuable because I have no desire to use any other any other phone, right? My friends, my family. So when you really think about it, we made these companies billionaires, right? And so in my mind, I have no desire to get any other kind of phone. I'm still, I still have my phone and I want to own stock in the company that is, I believe, it depends. They go back and forth. They might be the most valuable company in the world. They're in the top 3, put it like that. But either way, it's like, we don't need a rocket scientist to tell us that the $200+ billion in cash that Apple has, like they're not about to fall off the face of the earth, but it is cheaper to own stock in Apple. And I think I challenge people to sit and make a list of like, who do I always give my money to and my time to? From when you wake up to what you do, to what you shower with, when you brush your teeth, to what you eat, and really think about like, hey, can I own stock in this company? What is the stock price? Because to be honest, the 2 main companies that are expensive that most people know are Amazon and Google. Mm-hmm. And the way you still invest in those type of companies that are expensive in value, you just buy fractional shares. So, and again, if Amazon stock doubles and you only invested $100 in a fractional share of Amazon, your $100 will double. But in all honesty, I challenge people to just make a list of companies use and believe in every day, or that your kids use, and then be able to see, okay, and just Google the company name and type in stock and see what the price that pops up. And if it's a large, reputable business, especially if it's known all over the world, it's a high probability that they're publicly traded and you can own stock in them.
This is so good. You make it sound so achievable which is obviously what you've been doing since 2013. I feel very excited by all of this. Like, oh, Ashley makes it sound so easy. Okay. So I have a question. And I want you to tell us how, please feel free to tell people how you can help them, because I am looking at your courses and guides and stuff, but I know what the stock market is. I feel like I have fairly okay knowledge, I wouldn't call it decent, but like I could maybe go and find something, but I find it really, really hard to even understand, like, what do I type on my computer with my fingers to go find stock to give my money to? Like, how does that actually happen?
Well, the first thing you have to do is you have to open a brokerage account.
Okay.
And so you can't buy stock in a checking account or savings account. You have to specifically get a brokerage account. And nowadays, you don't need any money to open a brokerage account. Brokerage accounts, most of them don't charge you any fees to trade, which is good. And once the account is open, you then put money into the account. So you'll then connect your checking account to the brokerage account. So look at it like you want to go shopping for stocks, but you have to deposit the money in the account that you only use to buy stocks. And that's what your brokerage account is, right? Once the money is there and it clears, you can then buy stock. Now, the next thing you want to do, go ahead. You're going to say something?
No, you keep going.
Okay. And so once you do that, that's when you start to think about, okay, what do I want to buy, right? And the easiest way to start is to just make the list. Make the list and really start to dig deep. So like, for example, I woke up, I use Dove soap, which is Unilever. I use Tom's toothpaste that I got from Whole Foods that's owned by Amazon. I have an iPhone. I use Verizon. I got on my Google Gmail account. So just really start to think where your money's going. The other thing you can also do is make a list of the top 10 companies you want to own, right? If you can sit and think about, where do my friends, my family, the community, the world give all their time, money, and energy to, where can I invest? And I mean, think about it. In the midst of a pandemic, what companies are winning right now? What companies are struggling right now? But you can, it's two types of companies you can invest in, especially during a pandemic. One, I want to get in with the winning team. So all those essential businesses, they're killing it right now. Trillions of dollars were made in the year 2020 while we were going through a pandemic. Like, the rich got richer. The news could tell you otherwise, but people made a lot of money. But you can also invest in companies that are struggling that will bounce back. So for example, I bought stock in Delta. I'm not really like an airlines junkie, but all airlines took a hit. And if you know, I mean, you might not know, but this is on the internet. Airlines, they don't let airlines fail because the world needs airlines. So for me, it was like, okay, I want to invest in the number one airline. So I bought stock in Delta. I bought stock in Delta right in the height of the pandemic. I believe it was end of March, early April. And my stock is up 70%. Now, Delta's still struggling, but one day soon, when everything dies down, they will bounce back. And then they'll go back up in value. They'll start making more money. But also think like the hospitality industry. Some companies are struggling, but not all companies are. But those that are struggling are not going to go bankrupt. Some companies have, some companies will, but which ones will survive, right? And so I say all that to say you're a lot smarter than you think. You don't need a stock guru, a fancy textbook. You, like you said, you need something that is simple and easy to understand, because it is possible. Like, I also teach 10-year-olds how to invest in the stock market. If I can teach a 10-year-old, I know I can teach adults. But understand that you don't have to find that new up and coming company. You can invest in $1 billion business, hold them for 4 or 5 years, or even longer than that, and let them just make more billions. It's like, did you miss the boat on Amazon? No, they're thinking Amazon's stock price is going to hit $4,000. Like, I remember when I bought Amazon, it was $1,500, and I thought that was too expensive, right? So just understand that you want to think about who's winning right now, who's going to be around the next 5 to 10 years, right? Like, for instance, taxi cab companies, they're not going to be here, right? But is the place where you buy your soap, where you get your groceries, like, who's the number one grocery store? When you go shopping for your toiletries, who's the number one in that space? Like, there are companies that have been around for years. Like, literally, Disney's almost 100 years old. They're going nowhere. Sitting here trying to put Netflix out of business, right? Like, just think about it, right? So things that we just do naturally are still businesses. They've been around for years. And it's like, start small, start with what you know. Don't try to invest in that random pharmaceutical company you never heard of. buy companies use and believe in. And I'll leave it with this. Think about if you were to go invest $10,000 in your friend's business. What would you want to know about the company? Don't you want to know who's running it? Are they profitable? Are they going to last? Like, you want to make sure that this isn't, but they're also a business, and in all business owners, you're not just going to flip your money as a business owner tomorrow. So don't expect your stock to do that either. But over the next 5, 10 years, 15, 20 years, like, you gave Amazon 20 years. They done changed the world. Literally. And so understand that you got to look at your money like that. It's not about flipping it fast. It's not about thinking you need a bunch of money. A whole lot of $5 over the next 10, 15 years in a good company can make you a whole lot of $1 million. And it is possible. But the thing is, as you work your business, these companies are working there. So I can invest in Apple, but I don't care about technology. I let Tim Cook handle all of that. But I believe in what he's doing. I believe in the company. So just go ahead and grow my money, Apple, while I go build my financial education company. And that is okay. But the way you build wealth in America is investing in either your own idea or in somebody else's idea. And in this case, if you already got your own business, you built your own idea, keep doing it until you become the next Amazon. But in the meantime, you can also invest in Amazon and other companies and things like that you start to do research on.
I am the mind blown emoji right now. Okay. So you said something, this brings me to a question. You said something in that where you were like, invest in what you know, make the list of everything that you use. And I love how you really simplified that in a significant way, where you said, you still build your thing. This is not about turning over. You're not trying to make $1 million next week. This is about having a healthy 5, 10, 15, 20 year plan with investing and letting people build your wealth and while you still build your own business. I like how you pointed that out. Something you said that I caught on to was that, listen, don't try to, turn over money quickly by investing in a random pharmaceutical company you've never heard of. So my question then is, in all of your experience, what are some quick tips to help us avoid stocks that we shouldn't be investing in?
So I think starting out, you should start big.
What does that mean?
Meaning invest in a big company. If you get scary, like, don't buy a company that's figuring it out. Buy a company that's been around a block. Buy a company that has lived through recessions, not one that's experiencing their first recession, because that's what you would call a growth stock. They're figuring it out. They're in that growth stage. Disney's not a growth stock. Walmart's not a growth stock. They have been around for tons of recessions. They've survived, they've lived, and they're okay, right? Mm-hmm. So I would recommend, especially if you're just starting, start with companies like, let's just say like Nike, right? Not saying that you should invest in any of the companies that I mentioned, but I'm just using household names. We don't need a rocket scientist to tell us what Nike does for a living. So looking up Nike's financial reports, researching Nike, looking at articles around Nike, it's interesting to you because you probably wear Nikes, right? But again, buying a healthcare company or some boring company that some stock guru told you to buy just because it sounds good, at the end of the day, you're investing in a company. Like, this is a whole business you're investing in. This is your life you're investing in, like your money and your time. Start with what you know. And if you cannot hold that company for 10 years and don't believe in them for being around for 10 years, don't own it. Because what happens is, as entrepreneurs, and I can attest to this, there were times where I made a bunch of money, and then there was times I didn't make a bunch of money. And it's literally an emotional roller coaster. And investing in growth stocks and things like that, you go through that experience, right? But even as a stock investor, some days they love you in the market, because what drives the stock price is people buying and selling. So for example, if you think about like a really hot sneaker that's out and everybody wants to buy it, you can buy it. People buy the shoe and sell it at a higher price because it's in demand, right? But when sneakers that nobody wants in the sneaker store, they put those on sale. So the same thing works with the stock market. When everyone is buying a stock, it drives the price up. When everyone is selling the stock, it drives the price down. So take for example, the pandemic. In the height of the pandemic, when people they didn't know what was happening, businesses were shutting down, we had to quarantine. If I'm an investor, I'm freaking out. What companies are impacted by me being in the house? Airlines are impacted. Restaurants are impacted. Everybody's impacted. As an investor, if I believe and I'm scared and I believe in what's happening, I'm selling my stocks, right? There are people who trade every day. They're looking to make money today. So if they hear restaurants are shutting down and air hotels are shutting down, they're selling those types of stocks, which drives the price down, right? But for example, if everyone hears that Nike made over 80%, grew their revenue over 80% during the pandemic because people were still shopping online, even though we were going nowhere. People then like Nike and want to buy it, right? So which drives the price back up. So understand that when you own a stock from 9:30 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday, people are buying and selling your stock all day, every day. And the more they're buying it, the higher that price goes up. But you want to get a stock that everybody wants to buy. But for example, something could go wrong, right? A pandemic could happen and no one could foresee it. And then your company takes a hit financially, which then causes people to sell and it drives the stock price down. Will they go bankrupt? No, if the company is large and reputable, but they did take a hit. I look at opportunities like that to buy a stock. So when Delta dropped, I was like, they're not going anywhere. This is just a moment. 5 years from now, they'll be fine. So I bought more because for me, it was like when everyone's selling, it's a sale in the market. When you see red, in my mind, personally, I go shopping. It's like you see red in a store and everything's on sale. You want to go buy. I like when the market is red because things are cheap. Companies are cheap. They're on sale, right? So understand that the stock price goes up and down every day. Sometimes it'll be red, sometimes it'll be green. But remember why you started. I always describe it as like a marriage. It's like till death do us part. If you own a company, you're going to stand by them through thick and thin. As long as they are still performing, they're still profitable, they're still growing. Understand that they're businesses. People make mistakes. Facebook has made mistakes. Oh, everybody makes mistakes. As business owners, we're learning. We're humans. But understand, if you believe in the trajectory of the company, the vision, the leadership, they're profitable, they're growing. That matters. And again, give it time to grow. Like Warren Buffett is who he is, not because he trades stocks all day, every day, flipping his money. He buys some of the largest names and he holds them and he allows them to grow. And you want to be able to play that game while you're building your business, while you're living your day to day. Allow these companies to work for you, but you got to give them time. But understand that price will move every day, every single day. And you have to be able to withstand the ups and downs, especially if you believe in the company. The price is just a reflection of people's emotion, not the strength of a company. It's a good indicator, but it does not represent the strength of the company, especially if the company's profitable, especially if you believe in their vision. But it's just easier to do that if you know the company. It's easier to understand, like, oh my God, Amazon took a hit during a pandemic. You could freak out, but it's Amazon. Like, it's Amazon. Like, are you about to not shop on Amazon because you're stuck in the house? Actually, you shopped more because you had nothing else to do. So understand that it's a game that is played, but you got to check your emotions at the door and understand that you're not just investing in a stock price. You're investing in an actual business that has operations that, has been around for years. And that's what you have to focus on. And that's what's most important.
You are speaking my language about checking your emotions at the door. I'm an 8 on the Enneagram. I don't know if you've ever taken that personality test. So I don't like a lot of emotion. So I feel like this is perfect for me. Okay. So you're not invested. Like, it's just a reflection of people's emotions. It goes up and down every day. I have a question for you. So you keep mentioning, which I love, that this is the long game. If somebody is, but we live in an instant gratification world. And so when we are just getting started, what should we expect? I guess I know obviously you cannot, you're not like a soothsayer. You can't tell us what's going to happen, but I guess how long should we just be like, hey, chill, like settle down. You just need to chill out and let your stocks do their thing. Cause you did what Ashley said. You found companies you believe in their mission. You know that they have operations. Are we talking like hang for 5 years? Are we talking 10 years? How long should we, you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Well, it depends on the person, right?
Okay.
So you got to think about, why did you buy stocks in the first place?
Okay.
Like, what is the goal? What is the plan? So like, I have a 3-year-old niece. I invest for her. For me, it's pure long game. I got 15 years until she turns 18, right? For me, I'm 32. I just turned 32. And for me, it's 40. right? I want to be able to start to live off these investments, the dividends that are paid out by 40. So I'm building a portfolio for the age of 40. You may say, I want to buy stocks to fund my next vacation in 2 years, right? So it really depends on your goals. Like, what are you setting out to do? So I'll give you an example of something that I did. So I typically don't sell my stocks because, again, my goal is 40. I don't need my stocks. However, when I left my Wall Street job, I had $30,000. I got kicked out of my apartment, maxed out credit cards, negative bank accounts, and my stocks are the reason I could even build Empify. So if I own 10 shares of Apple, I sold, let's say, 5 shares because I needed cash to survive, right? So like my stocks were my emergency fund. So I needed the money and I had access to it, right? But also just recently, so I bought Tesla at $100 a piece, right? This is like literally Wall Street days. It might have been 2011, 2012. Mm-hmm. I bought 3 shares for $100 a piece. I have made over $10,000 just from that $300 investment, right? Tesla stock recently split. So for example, let's go back to the pizza. One slice was $50. A stock split is, all right, we're going to cut your slices into smaller pieces, but it's still going to be worth the same. So Tesla did, I believe, they did a 5-to-1 split, meaning if my pizza is $50, I'm going to cut it into 5 slices, which then gives you 5 pieces for $10. So still worth $50, but they made their stock price cheaper because Tesla stock price was well over $2,000. But anyway, I say all that to say, I lived through their stock split. So when the stock split, I made all this money and I wanted to invest in companies that paid me dividends. And so dividends are like a bonus that you get just for being a shareholder. So for every share you own, a company gives you a certain dollar amount every year, as long as you look at it like a property that you own with good tenants and they pay you rent all the time. Now the property value may not grow fast. So it's like you bought a property in the suburbs with a really good tenant. You have that property just for cash flow. You're not trying to flip it. You didn't buy it low, trying to sell it high. The neighborhood's not being gentrified. You're buying it for cash flow. So companies like AT&T, I own stock in AT&T. Their stock price doesn't move. It literally stays the same pretty much. It never really moves, right? But they pay a dividend. So AT&T pays a little over $2 every share you own. So for every like $28 you buy of AT&T, you're going to get $2 every year, like all the time. So if I own 2 shares, I'll get $4. And so that really starts to make a difference when you start to compare. If you put $30 in your savings account, you're not getting $2. You're getting less than a penny. If you put $60, you're not getting $4. You're still getting less than a penny. So I say all that to say I wanted dividend stocks because I wanted cash flow. I want to get to a point where I'm getting $10,000 a month just from dividends. So it's like the more properties I buy, the more tenants I get, the more cash flow I can accumulate. The more shares of AT&T I buy, the more cash flow I'll get because they pay a dividend every quarter, every year, but they do it every quarter. So I say all that to say that I sold my Tesla stock. I sold, I think like 3 or 4 shares, whatever it was like $2,000. I didn't sell all of them. I sold some and I took the $2,000 to buy me more dividend stocks because I wanted more cash flow. And so it really depends on why you invested in the first place. Like I sold because I had made over $10,000. So I sold $2,000 of it and I bought more. So it really depends on your goals. Are you trying to make sure that by the time I'm done running my business, done living my life, that I have enough money where I don't have to work ever again? Maybe that you're more of a long-term investor. Are you trying to make sure that your kids can go to college in the next 3 years? That's more of a short-term investor. So you hold your investments and make your investments and align your investments with your actual personal goals. And that's different for everybody.
Yes. Okay. And just to clarify, I just want to make sure. So not all stocks are dividend stocks.
Correct. No, absolutely not. So the way you can find that out too, if your company is publicly traded, for example, if you type in Disney stock, Apple stock, Walmart stock, right? You'll see under the stock chart if there's a percentage, it'll say DIV %, it'll say yield, or it'll just say, if you see any percentage under the stock chart, there's a number, that means they pay a dividend. And what that percentage is, you take that percent and times it by the stock price. And that is how you find out what they'll give you every year. Another easy way you can do it too, if you type in the stock name, NASDAQ, NASDAQ, dividend, and click I believe it's the first one or the second link. Either way, it'll tell you with every share you own how much the dividend is. But this is so understand what a dividend is though. A dividend is a company giving you money as a shareholder out of their profits. So after the company pays its bills, they make money, they say, hey, we're going to take care of our shareholders. And what that does is it shows you how strong a company is, because companies like AT&T have been paying dividends for over 30 years, meaning that they are strong enough to take their profits and give it away to their shareholders. Where for me, I can't do that. I have to put it back into my business. So companies that are dividend paying companies aren't going up and down all day, every day. They're the more stable, the more established companies that are consistently profitable, so much that they can take their profits and give some of their profits away to every shareholder that owns stock in that company. And it's a way of you creating additional cash flow, because the more shares you own, the higher your cash flow, your dividend payout will be, the higher your cash flow. And that's consistent money that you make over and over again, as long as you own the stock and as long as they can still pay dividends. So for example, Delta stopped their dividends, but think about it. They weren't profitable. They were losing money. So they couldn't afford to give dividends. And in all honesty, as an investor in Delta, you better cut your dividends off, because you got to use that money to put back into your business to grow your business, because I'm an investor in you and I need you to get things back up. So they paused their dividends. When things pick back up, money starts to come in, they'll turn their dividend back on. But right now, they're taking a hit. So a lot of companies cut their dividends because they had to reevaluate their operations because of the pandemic.
Okay. All right. But as an investor, that's a smart, you're like, hey, good move. Thanks
Correct.
for doing that, because we're in this for the long game.
Right. But that's also a red flag. If your company stops dividends, I mean, it makes sense now because it's a pandemic. But let's say it wasn't a pandemic. Oh, we're cutting back our dividend. Why? Why aren't you growing revenue? Or why isn't profits growing? Why are they now declining? And that's something you got to look at, because what happens is, too, people don't know. When you're a publicly traded company, I am part owner of Apple. Like, I can go to Apple shareholder meeting and vote. Like, I can vote on what's going on in the company. So everything a company does that is publicly traded is public. All their financials, public. By law, you are part owner of a company. So let's just say you invested in Empify. You have every right to know what's going on with the company. As the person running the company, and you are part owner, you own part of this business. So you need to know everything that's going on in the business. You have to run that day-to-day operations, but I have to report to you. Every quarter, I have to give you our financials. I have to tell you how we're doing. And if you see, hey, you guys took a hit here, why? I owe you an explanation. These companies work for you. They don't work for themselves. They work for their shareholders. Because if, let's just say you own Empify, right? You and your friends, and you see Empify is not performing, you're going to second guess the CEO running a company. And as shareholders of the company, you can vote out the CEO if they're not performing. And that's the power that you get being a shareholder, because you are part owner of a business. And the more shares you own, the bigger voice that you have, a bigger seat at the table that you have to make decisions on how this company is ran. The CEO does not run the company. They run the operations. They make sure they're leading the company, but they answer to the board. If you guys read Bob Iger, the former CEO of Disney, I love his book. He talks of everything he did during his time as a CEO, when they aligned with Pixar, when they bought Marvel, all the release of Disney Plus, all of that. He had to get that approved. He didn't just pick them and say, hey, I want to buy Marvel. He had to convince the board that buying Marvel was a good decision, and everything that he did moving forward. So as a shareholder, you are part owner of a business. It's just that publicly traded companies have a lot of owners because they got a lot of shares out there.
Yes. Yeah. Bob Iger, that's an amazing book. He also has such a great masterclass too.
I heard a girl on my team loves his masterclass.
Yes, he's easy to listen to, but also just really, I don't know. Anyway, it's not about Bob Iger, you guys, it's about after fact, so moving on. Okay, I promised that I would not take up too much of your time. I know you're busy. I just have one more question because many people listening to this show, they have kids or they have nieces and nephews like you do. And you said it quickly, but you said that right now you are investing for your 3-year-old niece. Mm-hmm. And of course we have 15 years before she's 18. So it's definitely the long game. Could you just give us a few tips about how you're investing for your 3-year-old niece, how people could maybe do that for their kids or kids in their life that they want to see, be successful in the future. Tell us about that. Cause of course you have stuff for kids and adults.
Yeah. So when you invest for a child, it's again, that timeline. What are you doing it for? And for me, it's like, okay, everyone in my family, I was the first person in my immediate family to go to college. I took out student loans, right? I will never in my life. And my sister's, I think 5 or 6 years younger. I wasn't in finance to tell her not to use student loans. So that student loans are a standard, not an option in America, right? It's like the thing to do. At this point, it's like, I know too much about money, and wealthy people, they don't take out student loans. They're setting money aside in kids' trust funds, right? Mm-hmm. So in my mind, because I saw wealthy people do it, it's like, okay, this stops here. This lack of education stops with me, right? And so in my mind, my niece will never, ever have to take out student loans. But I also started to do what I saw wealthy people doing for their kids. And so because I don't have any children, it's like, okay, everything I want to do for my children, I'm going to start with my niece. And so I started investing for her. The beauty of it is, and this is for everybody that's a parent, auntie, uncle, grandparent, you got to do for your kids what you wish your parents would have done for you. So I wish my mom would have set aside $10 a week for me, because I probably could have paid for, again, forget investing, just set money aside for me. That could have put me in a better position by the time I'm 18. Who knows if my niece wants to go to college, right? She might want to start a business. I wish somebody would have gave me money to start Empify. I wish somebody would have put me in a position to buy a home, right? To not have to use credit cards, right? And it's like all those things you wish someone would have done for you, start now and do it for the next generation, or you're just going to repeat the same cycle. And so for me, when my niece was first born, I think it was 3 months after she was born, I kept asking my sister for a social security number. And I was literally just setting aside $35 every month. And I did it in a stockpile because I knew I couldn't get a lot of shares for $35, but I could get a lot of fractional shares for $35. And so I just was building her portfolio literally month by month, contributing. And then as I started to make more, it then went to $35 every 2 weeks instead of every single month. And when you start to think of what to put in your brokerage account, ask yourself in 10 years, what companies are going to be around? And that was just a list that I made. Like my first stock I got her was Disney. One, because everything in the house was Disney. And it was just like, okay, let me look up Disney. Let me research Disney. And that was the first. I think I got her Disney. I got her Nike. I just recently got her Target. And so in my mind, it's like, I'm not buying the fancy companies that I heard on the internet. It's like, let me just start with what I know. Staple companies that were around when I was her age, or companies that were around long, like when I was a kid, that are still around, that are still strong, that are still profitable. I also went the dividend route with her. Dividends to me, dividend stocks to me, if we had to talk about levels to investing, dividend stocks to me, none of them are safe because businesses can go out of business any day. But for me, it's like, I like knowing that Disney's been around for almost 100 years. Like, think about it. We were kids. Our parents were kids. Our grandparents, like, think about the first Mickey Mouse. Like, my niece is 3 and knows every Frozen song. Like, she's 3 and kids are still obsessed with Disney, right? So in my mind, it's like Disney's just scratching the surface to what's out there. And again, I did my research, felt comfortable and confident, but it's okay to buy fractional shares of Disney, because that $35 ended up turning into over $2,000 a couple years later, right? My niece is up over 50, 60%. She would have never got that in a savings account. And she would have never got that if I had never did anything for her. So I think with children, it's like you get that opportunity and remove the pressure to perform. And even if your kids are a little older, even if they have an extra $5,000 going into college, we did not have that. I didn't have that. So even in my goals for my niece is $1 million, right? So it's like by the time she's 18, I'm getting her to $1 million. Okay, cool. just in case I halfway hit the goal. That's $500,000. Just in case I only hit the goal by 25%. She has $250,000. I didn't have any of that. So in my mind, I'm going big. But even if I fall short and get a tenth of the goal, that's still $100,000 at 18 years old. How many kids get $100,000 or have access to $100,000 at 18? And it's like, but you know who does? All of
1%.
All of my clients that when I was on Wall Street. And it's like, why can they do it, but I can't do it? And now I may not be able to invest $35,000 up front, but I can start with $35 and not be afraid to start small and build big. And I think with kids, we get that opportunity to like, let me do this right and do this the way I wish someone would have done it for me. And I think that makes a bigger why. It alleviates a lot of pressure. And so for me, because I have a niece, it's like, give her everything. I got her life insurance policy. It's like, I'm investing for her. Like, she will never, ever have to question her financial situation. And I want to make sure that she's in a position. And just by me doing that, her mom now invests for her. Like, her mom's taking our classes. Her mom is in our Wealth Builders community, which is my sister. But now she's doing it for herself, but she's also doing it for her daughter. So now my niece has 2 brokerage accounts, one that her mom invests in and one that I do myself too. So again, it's really just doing what you wish someone would have done for you and just doing it small and doing it consistently.
Oh my gosh. Financially empowered women. That's like a hug to my heart directly. I thank you for sharing that. I know that that is going to inspire and motivate a lot of people listening. Ashley Fox from Empify, thank you so much for your time today. Please tell everybody where they can find you, where you think they should go on your website to get started. I am on the courses and guides page, so see you all there. But anyway, you say.
So on social media, I'm at _Ashley M. Fox. So that's on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. My recommendation, I mean, there are a lot of courses and guides on our website, which you can just go to empifystore.com or just empify.com and go to the shop section. But I think the biggest thing is because taking a class is great, right? Yeah. You get educated, but if this isn't who you have been and what you're used to, it's easy to resort back to who you have always been, right? And so that's the reason why we made our WealthBuilders Community app. So you can go to WealthBuilders Community app. You can download it on your phone, or you can just go to wealthbuilderscommunity.com and you can see everything that it offers. So it is a membership community where it's $20 a month or $200 a year. I do recommend getting an annual membership because with the annual,
Start right now, wealthbuilderscommunity.com.
Got you. So you can go to wealthbuilderscommunity.com. That's my biggest recommendation because you'll be surrounded by people having conversations that you don't typically have at the dining room table. And so our WealthBuilders Community app has access to actually all the courses that are on the website.
Oh shit!
And
okay.
more.
Oh, shoot, sorry.
And more. There's literally over 90 hours of content, and we do classes every week. We do discussions every week. But even though education is great, I think empowerment is better because you'll see people posting, I just got my dividend. I just opened my brokerage account. I just invested for my child. There are people doing the things you want to do and doing the things you are doing. And I think that energy is infectious. And we don't always talk about investing. We're not always talking about building wealth, but having a network of people who are on that same journey. And there are people from all over the world, like London, Africa, the Caribbean, like they're from everywhere. But I think the biggest thing, even having an annual membership, so the monthly membership is $19.99 a month or $200 annually. With our annual members, we have a private beginner investors room where we do weekly group coaching and we do intimate things. Like I'm getting ready to do like small sessions of portfolio reviews for our annual members. And I think as we evolve, there's going to be so much that we're going to provide. We're ramping up a lot of things. But the biggest thing I believe personally about the community is the community part. Because the classes, like I could teach you all day long. Like it's nothing to pull up a class and to watch it. But it's also something that I think was most important is you're watching a class with somebody or you're taking that class and having a conversation with somebody who wants to do what you want to do, who's on the same wavelength as you, can have conversations about investments with you, can post news articles that you can read because you don't have time to look through the news. And I think that's what's most important. So getting to a point where all we're doing is talking about building wealth. Like you don't come in if you don't want to talk about building wealth, but sometimes you got to always be around that to feel like it's possible for you. And that's what our Wealth Builders Community is. So you can go to wealthbuilderscommunity.com and literally see all that we offer. But we're literally like 6 months in. So this the year 2021 there's a lot coming. We just got to a point where we're comfortable with the technology. Now we're just making it bigger and better. Our team is growing. We're going to have more. Wait till they just, even open outside. There'll be like wealth builder retreats and meetups and in-person classes that'll be offered. And I think that's what's most important about what we're creating.
Yes. And what a great time to get in, because a lot of times when you join communities, and they're still very valuable. I love what you just said about it is so like courses are great, but it's so easy to turn back into the person you always were without the consistency. Holy cow. That blew my mind. WealthBuildersCommunity.com. And friends, I will put all of these links in the show notes, but if for any reason you cannot find them, just DM me on Instagram and I will make sure you get to the right place. I'm at She Creates Business. Ashley Fox, this has been an absolute delight. I learned so much. See you in your community. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to She Creates Business. Please take a minute and head to iTunes to leave an honest review so we can help more wedding pros find the show.